Register has come under scrutiny after former Prime Minister Tony Abbott was asked to become an agent under controversial national security legislation. The Attorney-General Christian Porter is dismayed at how this legislation appears to be operating in practice, and he wants to revisit internal departmental processes and personnel. Joining me to discuss in detail this issue is Morgan Begg, a research fellow at the Institute of Public Affairs. Morgan, I had to get you in because this was a very powerful piece you wrote for the Australian newspaper at the start of the week. But you made the point, it's your belief that bureaucrats inside the Attorney-General's department are running a covert political operation more akin to the Stasis in eastern Germany than a federal government here in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. I think Australians would be absolutely shocked to discover that something like this could happen in Australia in 2019. What we're seeing is, as you said, a covert operation within a government department to target people because of their political beliefs. We've seen it. Tony Abbott was targeted, of course, and we've also seen Mr. Andrew Cooper, who was an organiser of a political conference in Sydney in August, and he was asked to give quite a lot of information under the threat of jail time to merely satisfy the curiosity of these department officials that whether he may or may not be the principal of an agent of a foreign influence or some such.
And what they were after too, you know, you're right, the legal letters, and they are very legal in form, threatened a 6-month jail term.
Yes.
So it's no idle threat when that stuff comes on letterhead with a crest on it, you know, coming from the Commonwealth. But also it sought access to emails and all sorts of confidential information, almost like a warrant process, I have to say. Now, it would appear these letters have only been sent to Conservatives at this stage. Now, this is not what the legislation was intended. Remind us why we went down this path of a foreign agent legislative framework.
Yeah, of course. So when these laws were introduced by the Turnbull government, they were introduced to Parliament in 2017, and the context of the time that these laws were introduced was increasing concern about certain antagonistic foreign powers who are exercising an extensive propaganda network within countries like Australia, and I'm speaking, of course,
about China,
the Chinese Communist Party.
And other,
and of course, and as far as we know, the only 2 letters that we've seen come to light have been targeted towards Conservatives. Hundreds of letters have apparently been sent by the department, and I think it would be very, very important to know who was targeted, on what grounds they were targeted, what the nature of these letters are, what has been requested of them. I think it's very concerning. I think this is just an outrageous situation.
I mean, if you think that a former Prime Minister gets a letter for attending a Conservative conference, have we seen similar letters being sent to the Labor side of politics for attending international union events?
Well, of course.
Socialist workers events? Have we seen anything like that?
Well, that's, well, not that we know of, but I mean, either situation is incredibly draconian. Is just very inappropriate and irresponsible. The idea that these laws are adequate but have been applied incorrectly just doesn't add up. The laws give far too much power to these bureaucrats to simply exercise a discretion about who they send letters to and how they interpret what a foreign principle is.
It would appear that the Attorney-General has taken this criticism very seriously. Someone told me very close to the Attorney-General that he was incandescent when he heard about this issue.
Well, that is comforting to know that he is upset. I did find the actual response, though, underwhelming. I think to rule out changing the law, which has actually enabled this abuse of power, I think that's completely inadequate. I think the law itself should be repealed. I think there is a real problem that the laws were trying to address, but I would say that under the circumstances, the law itself needs to be repealed and just start from scratch. And instead of broad discretionary powers to the public service, to public agencies, to do this kind of thing, direct, targeted responses would be far superior.
Of course, you know, people might say they have comfort in someone like Christian Porter being the Attorney General who sits above the department, who administers this scheme. But Christian Porter won't be Attorney General forever. And if you had an activist Attorney General on the left side of politics, or you had someone on the right who wanted to use this as a tool against the left, this is the danger of the laws as they stand.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that Conservatives are already being targeted under a centre-right government, I'm not too optimistic about what could happen under a Labor government. And of course, this is just it's a really absurd situation. There seems to be no control. There seems to be no accountability based on what we've seen so far.
Well, I know, no doubt you'll stay across it, and so will the IPA, but thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thanks very much.